you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Taylor Terrell and I'm going to make this video as short and sweet and simple and casual as possible, but I wanted to just cover some basis for the numbers of, you know, what it costs to actually build my coffee trailer, and then talk a little bit about the ebook I just wrote. If you're not already following my coffee trailer page at Salted Road Coffee on Instagram, you might not have known that I made an ebook, but I will talk about that a little bit later. So if you don't know who I am, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but I built a coffee trailer, actually had a coffee trailer built for me, paid somebody to build it about 1.5 years ago and ended up selling it this year. So I wrote an ebook about our plans because I get asked all the time for people to see the inside, the schematics from our plumbing, electric, what the layout was, what machines we use, all that kind of stuff. I had this dream over years ago. I have a whole playlist called Salted Road Coffee where you can actually watch everything from start to finish, and I have a special place in my heart for my YouTube family because you guys have been here from the start of when this was just a dream. It was just an idea. You saw all my failures, my ups and downs, and I really wanted to show you that starting a business is possible, but it's not necessarily going to be easy or flawless. There's going to be times where you fail your inspection and you have to redo some things to pass it, or times where you just hit these roadblocks and have to overcome them. So I've been very open and honest my whole journey with the trailer on YouTube. Essentially, I had the trailer for about 1 year, but I am kind of a serial entrepreneur person and just have other dreams and things I want to pursue as well. So I did end up selling it, and actually the other gal that bought it, she's from Georgia, she's amazing, and she totally like is rebranding it and everything, but it went to a really good home, so I'm really happy about that. So first, before I jump into the ebook portion of this, I wanted to go over some numbers because I've kind of briefly talked about numbers and how much it cost me to do this and all of that, but never really like broke it down for you guys. So none of these are specifics because I don't have like the receipts on hand. I don't actually know where they are. I think they're back in files somewhere, but I do know them off the top of my head roughly, so I can give you guys a good idea if you're like, oh, that's a cool business idea, whether you want to do a coffee trailer or coffee truck or something of the sorts, or maybe you want to do like a mobile bakery or even like a smoothie bus or something like that. These could apply as well, but your machines obviously will be different. So to give you a rough idea, our trailer was $2,000, and we had our trailer built in Arkansas. Actually, the trailer was from Arkansas and it was gutted already. We've got it for $2,000. I'm from Washington State. Trailers here are more expensive, so it really just depends on where you live. You could always order a trailer from across the country and ship it here. Just be careful. Make sure you're choosing a good company, because I actually did have a bad experience with a shipper. So make sure you're choosing a really good shipping company. That could potentially be cheaper to find one and ship it to you if you are from the West Coast or something. Our contractor, our builder for our trailer, actually was from Arkansas, so he had a trailer already, which is the one that we ended up using, that was gutted, and so that's what we used. Bought it from him for $2,000. And then the next thing was, depending on who you work with, or if you actually know how to do the work, or if you're hiring a contractor like I did. I didn't know how to do the work. I didn't trust myself. I'm not a professional, so I found Mark Bertel, which I talk about him all the time, but he's the guy that did our trailer. So depending on the products you use inside, the materials that you use inside your trailer, how big your trailer is, you know, what kind of plumbing and electric schematics you have planned out, that kind of stuff can depend on the price of your work. So we ended up spending about $23,000 on the build out. So that doesn't include any of the equipment, none of the machines, none of that. It's just like the, you know, making sure it's safe to drive. They painted the outside of it, they did the cabinets, they did the plumbing, they did the electric. He had our Washington State L&I and health department codes as well, which you have to know those basically like the back of your hand. No matter where you're from, study your state's codes and requirements because they're very strict generally. I do know the West Coast is the most strict, so Washington State and California are like the strictest codes in the whole country. So I guess it kind of sucked during the process, but now I'm really grateful that I was in a state, Washington State, where they are very strict, and so I knew that the trailer was going to be built to a really good standard. Anyway, so with that said, our contractor actually followed our codes and communicated with our health department and our L&I and all that kind of stuff, so he was able to build it to Washington State code. More on that a little bit later, which is why I ended up writing the ebook. So the next thing is machines. So depending on what machines you pick, really depends on the brand you pick, depends on what you're having in there. We didn't do any drip coffee or anything like that. So we had cold brew, we had a whole like kegerator system. We had an espresso machine. We did La Marzocco for that. We just did a single group, and part of that was chosen based off of the amount of power we had with our generator. Was kind of a deciding factor for what machines we chose and how big of the machines we chose. We had a pitcher rinser, we had a grinder, La Marzocco as well. while. The grinder was the only thing that was used. I do regret buying a used one. I wish I just would have bought a new one, because the used one, we had to replace a bunch of stuff on it. Ended up spending the same amount of money anyway. And then we had a hot water tower, we had an ice bin, and that was pretty much it for our machines. But because we bought the best of the best brand of everything out there, and we bought brand new, we actually spent about $20,000 on machines. So if you do decide to go the used route, just you run the risk of obviously there being more issues with it, but you can go cheaper that way. We loved all of our machines, so I have no complaints about any of the things that we had. They're amazing. So we spent $20,000 on machines. The next thing is like permits / licensing. So depending on where you live, again, codes are different everywhere. I'm not entirely familiar with other states. I know Washington's really strict, but in Washington, we have to get health permits in every single county. So even if you're gonna serve in like, if your plan is to do public events and you're going to serve in one county one day and the other county another day, you have to get health permits for every single county. So those fees can rack up depending on, you know, if you're leaving your county often, or you could do like an annual fee for your county, and that could save a little bit of money. And then you also have to get your business license. You have to get your LLC or whatever other business entity you decide to do. We were in LLC, we were Salted Road LLC. And also with pre-inspection, obviously the inspections you have for L&I and health department, it costs money for those every single time as well. Like I mentioned before, briefly, we actually failed our inspections. I have a video that's like very in detail about this in our Salted Road Coffee playlist if you want to watch that. But we failed our inspections, which was incredibly frustrating because our contractor knows what he's doing, and he actually verbally was told everything was to code. We followed the codes, and we still failed inspection, which was pretty frustrating. But regardless, we just had to put in another $5,000 after that to fix some things that, although we followed the code, they reviewed it at final inspection and said, well, you actually need to change basically the whole plumbing system, and we had to change quite a bit of the electrical as well, so we put in another $5,000. And I think I might have forgotten to mention what the permits and licensing was. That's about $1,000 to $2,000 depending on how many times you have to get inspected and what your permits and fees and licenses and stuff cost where you live. So overall, we were pretty much in at about $52,000, which again, that's kind of just a rough estimate, but we for sure were over $50,000, which our original budget was $40,000. I thought we would only do $40,000. That's what I had saved in my bank originally. I was ready to go with $40,000, and then things happen, and they will happen. You kind of have to expect that. So I would say it would be safe to have potentially an extra $10,000 saved up for things that happen and things you need to change. Transferring this conversation over to the ebook. So I want to be clear about what this ebook is and what this ebook is not. So I am not a professional in plumbing or electric or any of those things. So I'm not teaching you how to do those things. However, about 3 times a day, I do get asked to see the inside layout of the trailer, which I obviously don't have the trailer anymore, but I do have pictures of the whole inside that I took specifically for this ebook. And so people ask to see the plumbing, they ask to see the electric, and they just want to like copy and paste in their own trailer. And as much as I wish I could just share that with you, we had to go through a lot, as you can tell, all of the costs to even get to that point where we passed inspection. Plus it took me 4 years to make this happen, and even so, our contractor knew what he was doing. And even if you follow the codes, sometimes their codes are not very specific, and I don't really know how to describe that other than you going through the experience yourself. You'll be like, that's so confusing. You follow the codes, and sometimes it depends on the inspector you get, but they could totally make you redo the whole thing, which is what we had to do. So we had to redo the whole plumbing again. The reason that the ebook is not free is because to get to that point where we passed was not free, obviously, and I'm sure most of you guys understand that, but I have had a few questions on that. So this ebook does not teach you how to do plumbing or electric. It is basically, the ebook is basically written with the assumption that you already have a plumber or electrician or a contractor that knows how to build, they know how to do plumbing, they know how to do electric, and by them seeing our schematics, it's our legitimate schematics that we submitted to our L&I and our health department, and by seeing the pictures of our actual pipes and plumbing underneath the counters, they'll be able to figure out how everything is hooked up. So I want to be clear about that. It's not teaching you how to do it, it's just showing you the insides of our trailer, which we have never shown publicly before. It's only in this ebook, and as well as you can see actual forms from the binder I submitted for pre-inspection to the health department, as well as I also explain what machines we used and also how much the machines cost when I bought them brand new, so you can kind of get an idea. Like, maybe you don't want to spend $20,000 on all of the machines, but maybe you really want the espresso machine we had. I tell you how much that costs and all the machines that we used. So it is a 22-page ebook. It is pretty simple and sweet, but it's a lot of valuable information. It's nothing that I ever had. This is something that I wish I would have had when I first started. It would have been a whole heck of a lot easier to say, okay, here is plans from a trailer that passed, give it to my contractor, and they could literally just make it happen, and we wouldn't have had to figure all that stuff out the hard way. So another thing to mention is these are codes for a Washington state trailer. So I've had some people ask, like, do these codes translate to other states? I can't promise that, and there is a disclaimer that this doesn't promise that you'll pass, but I would be pretty surprised. There are just maybe a little bit of specifics that they're not okay with. Like, I know California, for example, has a stricter rule on the size of the serving window that Washington state does not have, because we had a pretty big serving window, and I know some people in California can't have that size of a window, if that makes sense. So anyway, if you take this ebook plus combine it with your codes with your state, that's basically all that you need to get started. I kind of walk you through like what it looks like inside, all that kind of stuff, and it's just super helpful information I wish I would have had. But I'm not here to convince anybody. This really was written to help the people who've been asking me questions and people who are serious about doing a business like this. So this isn't being like, oh, like, here's a little business you should try. No, I'm not trying to convince anyone to do this business. It is hard, it takes a lot of work, and it does take a lot of money. It can take a lot of money depending on what machines and stuff you use, but this is for people who are serious and they just maybe have no idea where to start, and you have a plumber or a contractor or electrician that will be helping you and can translate what these schematics and what these photos mean. So that is a perfect fit for you if that sounds like you. I do want to offer a special discount to you guys here on YouTube, because YouTube has my heart. You guys have been here watching me from the start. You know, the people that have been following me on YouTube have been here for years and seen this whole thing come to fruition, so I want to give back to you guys in that way. But the discount code is for 50% off the ebook, and it is, the code for it is YouTube50, so you will get 50% off, and I'm going to put the link down below for the ebook if that's something that interests you. The last thing I want to say is, if you are maybe already in business in a coffee trailer, or you're past the point of actually building out the trailer, that kind of stuff, and you have more questions about how I actually marketed myself or business or how, whatever, any of those things, feel free to ask me in comments below, or you could always DM me over on the Salted Road Coffee Instagram page or on my personal page, Tay Terrell, and I'd be glad to answer that for you or make a video about it, or potentially, if I get enough of the same question, maybe make another ebook about some other topics. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know about that discount, and if this sounds like it could help you out, then the link is below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!